Hello everybody and welcome back inside the box for another episode of Gunpla Kitbash with me, Kukamatsu. In this episode we're working on the decals, so let's jump right in. Okay, we're going to be doing some decal work this week, but before we do that I just want to go over quickly what I've done since last week just to catch you up. I was concerned about the torso area being too black overall, and I talked to a couple of you online about it, and I really appreciate your suggestions. So what I've done is I've added some gunmetal to a couple of the details to just to differentiate them. And actually, now that I've done it, it seems pretty obvious that that was the thing to do. I was thinking, white or blue or something like that, and I just didn't think they would work very well in that situation. But the gunmetal, I think, works really well. The other thing that I did was I painted the lower section white. I actually broke these off and then painted them and then glued them back on again. And I think that works really well too, just to give a little bit more variation in the torso area. In addition to that, I have painted with the clear Tamiya X22 just to give everything a seal so that it's ready for decals. The nice thing about that is it really brings out the color of those paints. They were a little bit dull, I guess, when you paint them initially, but once you put that clear coat on it, it really saturates them in a really nice way. So let's get set up for decals. So I don't have the actual decals meant for the Master Grade Freedom 2.0, but I do have this big stack of decals from other kits that I've either partially used or not used at all. And so I'm intending to use these as a sort of decal bashing, I guess you'd call it. I'm just going to go through them and find some stuff that I like and use those. I mean, a lot of the Master Grade decals have similar small details anyway, so I may find stuff that's actually similar to what is meant to be done in the kit. But I'm just going to go through it and see what I have. My intention basically is to use red as the primary color. I think that's going to look really good with the colors that we have on the kit already. Yeah, see, these kind of details are pretty common. I have bought a lot of decals from Delpy Decal, and so you'll see that on a lot of these. So I'm going to make two piles, one that I sort of is a reject pile and one that is the ones that have some possibility in them. It's kind of like going through a little memory lane of all the kits that I've done and over time. Okay, I have my smaller stack of decals to work from, and then I do have the instructions here, and I'm going to use this as a general guide of where to put them. I'm not going to do specific ones, obviously, because I don't have those ones, but there's a lot of little general ones that I can put all around. I'm not trying to match this exactly, but just using it as an inspiration of where they might have been if I did have the correct decals. So I have a small bowl with lukewarm water in it, a toothpick, a couple of Q-tips, a sharp knife, and some tweezers. And so I'm pretty much set up to go here. I know a lot of people probably find decals a bit boring to work with, and maybe don't even do it as a result of that. I can totally understand that. I find it kind of meditative, so I enjoy it, and I also like the results, so that's why I go ahead and do it. The nice thing about Gunpla kits is it tends to be really simple to apply decals. It's not difficult at all. So if you're feeling at all intimidated by decals, I would highly recommend trying it, because where you really run into problems with decals is when they're bigger and they're going over seam lines and stuff like that. You have to have the decal fluid and all that sort of stuff, which I do have, and sometimes I do decals like that. But in this kind of situation, really the decals are quite small and probably going onto flat surfaces, so it's really, really easy to achieve a good result. So definitely give it a try. It does take a little bit longer when you don't have the correct decals, because you have to search for each one individually rather than just looking for the number, and you're searching on lots of different sheets instead of just the one. But all that being said, I think we can make do. So I think I'm going to start with these four here. So what I'm thinking is just putting that one right there. So all you have to do is dip it in the water there, let it sit for a little while. All decals are a little bit different. So sometimes it's just a matter of figuring out how long is the right amount of time in the water. Since these are so small, they can be a little bit finicky to deal with. If you have skinny fingers, it might be easier. But definitely having tools like the tweezers is going to be kind of essential. Just going to give it a little pull to see if it's coming loose. Not still quite stuck to there. Let's give it another minute. Okay, I can feel that it's starting to come off a little bit there, loosen up from there. So basically what I do is I take it out, put it on my finger, and then grab the upper left corner so that I can hold it with my other hand. And then with the toothpick, I just gently push it off the backing and just get rid of some of that excess water with a Q-tip, and then find the exact position I want with the toothpick. And then with a dry Q-tip, just give it a little roll across the surface to get rid of the excess water. It's easy as that. And I do find once you get a sense of how long the decals take to release, you can be putting the next one in before you actually pull the previous one out, so that you're getting in a nice rhythm. The one thing about using decals from other kits is that people sometimes recognize them. If you're putting your stuff online, people do sometimes recognize what you've done, and maybe it doesn't fit within the original storyline, or they don't want to know why you're putting such and such a decal on the wrong kit or whatever, or yeah, that kind of stuff definitely happens. I'm not a stickler for that kind of stuff. I'm not really too worried about it. So I just go ahead and do what I like. But you know, you don't want to be 100% off or whatever. So it's just something to be aware of. That one thing I've noticed showing my stuff online is that there's always somebody who knows more about this stuff than I ever will. And, and that's fine. You just got to stick with what you like, and not worry too much about what other people think about that. This one here is from Barbatos, and it's kind of similar to what is meant to be here, and I think it fits pretty well, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Probably the trickiest part about decals is just getting them symmetrical, or at least almost symmetrical. It's really just eyeballing it kind of thing, so just gotta do your best. Looks pretty good. In the kit, the original decals are meant to have a 101 here. I happen to have this one from the Master Grade Ale Strike, and I have a 110, so I'm going to cut these out and actually make it into a 101 so that I can fit it right there. It's a little more tricky because I'll have to line up the numbers again, but the 1 and the 0 will be right. It's just going to be this 1 on the end, if I can cut it off without wrecking it. I think that's looking pretty good. But it can be tricky to get decals really precisely lined up. Okay, there we go. The arms are done, I'd say. That's kind of the amount of detail that I like to put on there. It's kind of funny, I'm always talking about removing detail or not having as much detail on panel parts, but when it comes to decals, I actually like a little bit more detail. One of the nice things about the instructions is that it kind of encourages me to put more on. Like if I just was doing it of my own accord, I probably wouldn't do quite as many. I would get bored of it and stop sooner, but since there's a set of instructions that I'm basically kind of following, it does encourage me to put more of them on, and I do like the result, especially in this situation where it's a white Gundam with a few darker panels and then the red highlight. I really like that color combination. I think it's looking cool. The thing about something like the torso, where there's so much custom stuff, is that I can't even really follow the instructions because a lot of the surfaces don't exist, and there are a lot of new surfaces, so I can just kind of make it up as I go along, which is pretty fun. Sometimes you can't find quite what you want, but you can make what you want if you can see the shape in something else. I kind of wanted this arrow shape, something like that. So I'm just going to cut that straight across there. And now I have what I need. And the great thing about decals is that you can change your mind if you want. Now that I see that on there, I don't really like it, so it's easy enough to take it off. Maybe I can find something white to put on there. I think it looks better anyway. That's pretty cool. Okay, I think that's pretty good for the torso and head. You'll notice that there is a shininess to the decals, but that will sort of be taken care of when I do the final clear coat, which will be a flat clear. So it'll sort of unify the specular value of the paint with the decals. I think it's looking pretty cool. On to the next part. Okay, well that was about, I would say 4 hours of work, give or take. I did take breaks as it went along. I had some lunch and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I think it is important to take breaks when you're doing this kind of work because it's easy to get pretty sore just being sort of hunched over your bench the whole time. But I think it was about 4 hours of actual work. But very happy with the result. I think it looks pretty cool with the red on there. Really looking forward to seeing it all together. I'm always tempted at this stage to say, forget the weathering, I'll just do it like this because it looks so clean and cool. But I will be doing weathering on this kit. When these have had a chance to dry completely, I will do a clear coat of Flat Clear XF86 by Tamiya. And that'll give me a slightly more flat result on the panels, which is what I'll be looking for on this. Pretty happy with how everything turned out today. Glad to be over that stage. Even though I do enjoy it, it is a little bit tedious. And, you know, at the end of the build, you just want to get on to finishing it. But I'm really liking how it's turned out. Thank you very much for watching. That is the end of this week's episode. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like on the way out. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.